Greetings and a warm welcome to The Sleepy Scholar. Tonight, we embark on a tranquil expedition into one of the most enigmatic and profound frontiers of human existence, the elusive and endlessly captivating realm of sleep. Each and every night, our physical forms transition into a distinctly different state of being. Our conscious minds wander through ethereal landscapes, while the brain diligently sets to work repairing the day's wear and restoring our vitality. We simply close our eyes, relinquish our control over the world, and yet, miraculously, we awaken feeling refreshed and born anew. However, the true nature of what transpires during these shadowed hours remains largely a mystery to us. Consider the diversity of nature. Some creatures manage to sleep with only half of their brain at a time, while others experience vivid dreamscapes that rival our own. Sleep is far more than a mere quiet escape from reality. It is a fundamental biological necessity. It is the sculptor of our memories, the guardian of our health, and the force that shapes the very architecture of how we think and feel. If you find comfort in these gentle journeys of discovery, please consider liking this video and subscribing to our channel, or perhaps sharing a reflection in the comments section below. Your interaction helps others find their way to this sanctuary, guiding one sleepy soul at a time. But for the moment, all you need to do is let go of tension, allow your mind to soften, and join us as we set forth on this fascinating voyage. Let us begin. Sleep stands as one of biology's most profound puzzles. Despite decades of rigorous scientific inquiry, it remains one of the most enduring mysteries of life. We understand that it is absolutely essential, yet we do not fully comprehend why. Why must living organisms lose their awareness and become vulnerable for several hours every single day? Why do our brains construct dreams that are so vivid, strange, and emotional? Theories are plentiful. Some suggest sleep conserves energy. Others say it repairs the physical body, processes our memories, or prunes back unnecessary neural connections. While all these theories hold fragments of the truth, none offer a complete explanation. Even more baffling is the incredible variety of sleep habits found across different species. Some creatures rest half of their brains while continuing to move, some barely seem to sleep at all, while others dream with extravagant complexity. The fact that evolution has stubbornly preserved sleep across billions of years of development implies that it serves a role that is fundamental and irreplaceable. Yet, the complete picture continues to elude our grasp. Every single night, we surrender ourselves to a phenomenon that is both universally experienced and scientifically inexplicable. Sleep is a necessity we can never outgrow. It is a riddle wrapped in silence, one that science is still striving to untangle. Furthermore, no one knows precisely why we dream. Dreaming might well be one of the strangest experiences known to humanity, a private theater of the mind where impossible events unfold yet feel undeniably real in the moment. Its ultimate purpose remains a subject of debate. Some prevailing theories propose that dreams serve to consolidate memory, weaving the threads of our daytime experiences into the tapestry of long-term knowledge. Others suggest that dreams regulate our emotions, acting as a mechanism to help us cope with stress, anxiety, and trauma. Still, other researchers view dreams as merely the random firing of neurons, which the brain, with its relentless need for narrative, stitches together into coherent stories. The truth, in all likelihood, may be a combination of all these factors. What is truly remarkable is that dreams are often charged with powerful emotions, vivid imagery, and bizarre scenarios, filled with recurring themes of flight, falling, or being pursued across alien landscapes. They frequently leave us with lingering moods and feelings, even long after we have forgotten the specific details of the narrative. The question of why we dream may never be fully answered, but perhaps that mystery is part of their enduring power. Dreams remain wild and untamed. They are mysteries nested within a mystery, the secret lives hidden inside every sleeping mind. It is worth noting that every animal with a brain requires sleep in some form. Sleep is not an invention unique to humans. It appears to be woven into the very fabric of biological existence. Every creature possessing a nervous system, from the smallest insects to the mightiest elephants, slips into some version of this dormant state. This universal requirement suggests that sleep is as ancient as the first brains to ever evolve. It is a mandate written into the earliest genetic instructions of life itself. When you observe a tiny fruit fly dozing, pausing in absolute stillness with its miniature wings folded, you are witnessing the very same fundamental cycle that governs your own life. Sleep grants every creature the time needed to reset, to repair cellular damage, to clear away metabolic waste, and to strengthen memory pathways. And although the methods by which animals sleep can differ wildly from long, deep stretches of hibernation to short, scattered naps, the fact that it exists everywhere tells us something profound. Sleep is not optional. It is a universal law of living things, as critical to survival as eating, breathing, and drinking water. Consider the jellyfish. Some sleep even though they possess no brain at all. Even more astonishing is the revelation that sleep seems to extend beyond the brain itself. Jellyfish, which lack anything resembling a central nervous system, still enter a distinguishable sleep-like state. At night, their pulsing movements slow down, they drift closer to the seafloor, and they become significantly less responsive to external disturbances. When they are deprived of this rest, they behave sluggishly the next day, much like a tired human might. This discovery sent shockwaves through the scientific community because it hints that sleep is not simply a luxury for complex brains, but perhaps something even older and more fundamental. It is possible that sleep began as a way for individual cells to conserve energy long before complex nervous systems ever evolved. In the jellyfish, sleep is stripped down to its absolute essence, cycles of activity and rest that keep the forces of life in balance. It is humbling to consider that these strange, swaying creatures in the ocean depths may be demonstrating the earliest evolutionary origins of a process we still do not fully understand in ourselves. Humans spend approximately 1/3 of their entire lives asleep. If you are fortunate enough to live to the age of 90, you will have spent roughly 30 of those years asleep. Entire decades vanish into the soft mystery of the night, more time than we devote to almost any other single activity in our lives. But although it may seem as though those hours are lost to the void, they are far from wasted. Sleep is a quiet workshop, diligently repairing the body, consolidating memories, and fine-tuning the intricate machinery of the brain. Without those nightly intervals, our waking lives would quickly crumble. During those cumulative 30 years, we replay and rewire our experiences, strengthen our immune systems, and reshape the very architecture of our thoughts. Sleep is not merely downtime. It is a period of active biological construction. And even though you will not remember the vast majority of it, those invisible years of rest form the solid foundation for everything you accomplish while awake. In a very real sense, your life is not 2/3 waking and 1/3 sleeping. It is one complete existence, built equally by the contributions of both states. The record for the longest time a human has intentionally stayed awake is 11 days. In 1964, a high school student named Randy Gardner set this strange and dangerous record. He managed to stay awake for 11 consecutive days as part of a science fair experiment. At first, he simply grew incredibly tired. Then his mood completely collapsed. His memory faltered, and his ability to think clearly nearly vanished entirely. By the end of the experiment, he was hallucinating, mistaking street signs for actual people and seeing things that simply weren't there. Yet, remarkably, even after more than 260 hours without a wink of sleep, he eventually recovered fully after getting some rest. His record is legendary, but it is also haunting. A stark reminder of how fragile we become when deprived of our most basic biological rhythm. Few people have ever attempted to break this record since, not just because it is so physically punishing, but because science now recognizes that pushing the human body this far can be dangerous and potentially deadly. The human body is simply not designed to go without sleep. 11 days represents the very edge of the impossible. In fact, sleep deprivation can be more dangerous than food deprivation. You can survive for weeks without eating, but without sleep, the body and mind begin to unravel within a matter of days. Laboratory rats kept from sleeping die faster than those denied food. In humans, even moderate sleep loss disrupts physical coordination, weakens the immune system, raises blood pressure, and clouds judgment. After just 24 hours without sleep, your reaction times slow down as much as if you were legally intoxicated. Push beyond that limit and hallucinations begin to creep in. Your perception warps and your body begins to break down biologically. Sleep deprivation can even trigger fatal conditions in rare cases, such as the terrifying disease known as fatal familial insomnia, in which people eventually die because they lose the biological ability to sleep. Food nourishes the body, but sleep sustains the mind, and without it, no amount of calories can save you. It is a need deeper than hunger. It is proof that rest is not a luxury, but survival itself. Furthermore, your brain cleans itself of toxins while you sleep. At night, when you sink into the depths of deep sleep, something remarkable happens inside your skull. Channels in the brain open wide, and cerebrospinal fluid washes through the tissue like a cleansing tide. This process, known to scientists as the glymphatic system, clears away metabolic waste, toxins, and proteins that have built up during the day's activity. One of the substances swept out is beta-amyloid, a protein that is strongly linked to the development of Alzheimer's disease. Sleep, in this way, acts like a nightly housekeeping service, preventing dangerous clutter from overwhelming the delicate structures of the brain. During waking hours, this cleansing system runs slowly, almost inefficiently. Only in the quiet stillness of sleep does it truly surge into action. Scientists believe this mechanism may explain why sleep feels so restorative. It explains why the fog of fatigue lifts after a good rest. It is not just that you are recharged energetically, it is that your brain has been literally washed, polished, and prepared for another day of thought. Additionally, dreams help your brain process complex emotions. When we dream, we often revisit the things that made us anxious, joyful, or sad during the waking hours. This is not a coincidence. Studies suggest that dreaming is the brain's unique way of working through emotions, softening their sharp edges so they are easier to carry. In REM sleep, the amygdala, a region of the brain linked to fear and emotion, is highly active, while stress chemicals like norepinephrine drop to their lowest levels. This creates a kind of safe simulation space where your mind can replay difficult experiences without the chemical rush of stress overwhelming you. In this dream laboratory, emotions are blended, softened, reshaped, and filed away into memory. It is one reason why a good night's sleep can ease a bad mood, or why grief feels significantly sharper when we cannot rest properly. Dreams may not erase pain, but they help transform it into something bearable. In that sense, every dream is not just a story, but a quiet form of therapy woven into the fabric of the night. Interestingly, some people dream entirely in black and white. Not all dreams unfold in vivid color. For some individuals, dreams appear in shades of grey, as though projected on an old black and white television screen. This curious variation was once much more common. In the mid-20th century, when black and white media dominated the world, studies found that a large number of people reported colorless dreams. Today, as high-definition color imagery floods our daily lives, reports of grayscale dreams have declined dramatically. This suggests that our dreamscapes may be influenced not only by our biology, but also by our culture and the technology we consume. Still, a portion of the population continues to dream without color, their sleeping worlds drawn in stark contrast and shadow. No one fully understands why this happens. Perhaps the brain's visual centers are wired differently in these individuals. Perhaps memory storage skips color information for the sake of efficiency. Whatever the reason, it shows that even in the private theaters of our minds, the experience of dreaming is not uniform for everyone. Consider the dolphin, which sleeps with half of its brain awake. Dolphins live in an aquatic environment where constant alertness is essential for survival. They must come up to the surface to breathe, avoid predators, and care for their pod. To manage this, they have evolved a brilliant strategy called unihemispheric slow-wave sleep, where one half of the brain rests while the other stays awake. One eye remains open, watching the world, while the other is closed. After a while, the roles switch. In this way, dolphins never fully lose awareness, yet they still achieve the restorative benefits of sleep. They can swim slowly, surface for air, and remain safe in their watery world. It is a strange compromise between vigilance and rest. It is an elegant adaptation that demonstrates just how flexible sleep can be. To us, sleep feels like surrender. To dolphins, it is a negotiation. They exist half dreaming, half awake, straddling the line between two worlds with effortless grace. Similarly, birds can nap while flying. It sounds impossible, but some birds manage to catch sleep mid-flight. Frigate birds, which soar for days over open oceans, have been observed dozing while gliding on thermal currents. Their brains slip into brief bursts of unihemispheric sleep, similar to dolphins. This allows them to rest without crashing into the sea below. During migration, these naps become essential, as birds may travel thousands of miles without finding a safe place to land. The naps are incredibly short, often lasting only seconds, but when strung together, they provide enough rest to ensure survival. Astonishingly, when researchers compared frigate birds in flight with those resting on land, they found that airborne birds got dramatically less sleep, yet still managed to function perfectly. It is a reminder that sleep is not rigid, but flexible, capable of being reshaped by the demands of survival. Even in the endless sky, with wings stretched wide and eyes half closed, rest still finds a way. Some migratory birds sleep on the wing for days at a time. Migration pushes birds to their physical extremes. Some species, like swifts and frigate birds, travel thousands of miles non-stop, soaring over vast oceans and continents. They cannot always stop to rest, so they have evolved the astonishing ability to sleep mid-flight. Research using tiny brain monitors has revealed that migratory birds can slip into short bouts of unihemispheric sleep while gliding. One half of the brain shuts down, while the other remains active to control flight and navigation. Sometimes both halves dip briefly into rest, and the bird continues to fly, carried solely by the air currents. Incredibly, some swifts may spend months in the sky, eating, drinking, and sleeping without ever touching land. For them, the sky is both their home and their bedroom. This adaptation is one of nature's most elegant solutions to the challenge of survival. It shows us how to move across impossible distances without ever pausing long enough to truly sleep. Giraffes, on the other hand, sleep less than 2 hours a day. Despite their towering height and calm appearance, giraffes barely sleep at all. On average, they rest for less than 2 hours per day, usually in short bursts of just a few minutes at a time. Their unusual sleep schedule is thought to be an evolutionary adaptation to their environment. In the wild, giraffes are highly vulnerable to predators, and their long necks and legs make lying down and standing up a slow, awkward, and dangerous process. Sleeping too deeply for too long could mean disaster. Instead, they snatch fragments of rest while standing or curled in strange, brief positions on the ground. What is remarkable is that these micro-sleeps seem to be enough. Giraffes remain healthy and alert despite sleeping less than almost any other mammal. Their resilience raises deep questions about what enough sleep really means. For giraffes, survival has shaped sleep into something rare and fleeting. It is proof that nature finds many ways to balance the need for rest with the need for vigilance. In contrast, cats sleep up to 16 hours daily. If giraffes are the insomniacs of the animal kingdom, cats are its dedicated dreamers. Domestic cats often sleep between 12 and 16 hours per day, and sometimes even more. These hours are spread out in frequent naps, a behavior inherited directly from their wild ancestors. Big cats like lions and tigers also spend much of their day asleep, conserving massive amounts of energy for the short, intense bursts of hunting that define their lives. For your household pet, those naps may seem indulgent, but they are a survival strategy refined over millions of years of evolution. Interestingly, cats cycle quickly between light dozing and deep sleep, with their ears twitching at every sound. Their bodies are always ready to spring awake into action if needed. When they stretch, purr, and curl into the next nap, they embody the paradox of sleep. Deep rest paired with constant readiness. Watching a cat sleep is like watching evolution's most elegant compromise between safety and restoration. The platypus has more REM sleep than any other mammal. Among the strangest animals on Earth, the platypus also holds one of the strangest sleep records. Studies have shown that platypuses spend up to 8 hours a day in REM sleep, the phase most closely associated with vivid dreaming. That is more than humans, cats, or even newborns experience. During this time, their brains are highly active. Their eyes flicker beneath closed lids, and their bodies sometimes twitch with phantom movements. Why would a semi-aquatic egg-laying mammal need so much REM sleep? One theory is that REM evolved from an even older survival behavior, the twitching and rehearsal of movements during rest. In the platypus, this may remain exaggerated, offering a window into a more primitive version of dreaming. By studying its sleep, scientists catch glimpses of how REM may have developed in all mammals. It is as though the platypus carries an ancient dream world within its genes, one that connects us to our evolutionary past. Some people can control their dreams, a phenomenon known as lucid dreaming. In lucid dreams, you realize you are dreaming while still inside the dream itself. For some, this awareness allows for astonishing freedom, flying across landscapes, walking through solid walls, or shaping entire dream worlds with intention. Lucid dreaming has been practiced in spiritual traditions for centuries, and modern science has confirmed its reality. Brain scans show unique patterns during these states, a blend of sleep and waking consciousness. Some people stumble into lucidity by accident, while others train themselves with techniques like dream journaling, reality checks, and gentle reminders before sleep. For those who master it, the dream world becomes a laboratory for creativity, healing, or simply pure wonder. The idea that our minds can recognize their own illusions and then play with them is one of the most extraordinary frontiers of sleep science. It suggests that even in our deepest rest, part of us can still wake up. Furthermore, sleep strengthens your memories. When you study, learn a new skill, or practice a piece of music, sleep is the hidden force that locks those experiences into place. During deep sleep, the hippocampus, a memory hub in the brain, replays recent experiences, transferring them into long-term storage in the cortex. It is as if the brain is running an overnight backup, ensuring important files aren't lost. At the same time, unimportant details are pruned away, making room for new learning. Without sleep, memories remain fragile and easily forgotten. With it, they crystallize, becoming part of who you are. This is why pulling an all-nighter often backfires. The brain simply hasn't had time to store what you've learned. Every night of sleep is a silent tutor, reinforcing the lessons of the day and weaving them into the architecture of the mind. Lack of sleep makes you more likely to misremember things. Not only does sleep strengthen memory, but losing it can twist and distort what you recall. Sleep-deprived brains struggle to distinguish between real memories and imagined details. You might become more confident about false recollections, certain that something happened when it did not. Studies show that even mild sleep loss increases susceptibility to misremembering, confusion, and suggestibility. This can have serious consequences, from mistaken eyewitness accounts to poor decision-making in daily life. The tired and foggy brain stitches fragments together in clumsy ways. Instead of carefully sorting experiences, it scrambles them. In this sense, sleep is not just about remembering, it is about remembering accurately. Without it, the story of your own life becomes blurred, as though written on a page where the ink wasn't quite dry. Sleep is when the most vivid dreaming happens. The dreamscapes that linger with us, surreal adventures, emotional encounters, impossible places, mostly arise during REM sleep. This stage, marked by rapid eye movements beneath closed lids, occurs in cycles throughout the night, usually lengthening as morning approaches. In REM, the brain is nearly as active as when it is awake. The visual centers flare, emotions surge, and memory fragments are stitched into bizarre stories. Yet, the muscles of the body remain paralyzed, preventing us from acting out our dreams. Scientists believe this paralysis is a safeguard, but it also makes REM uniquely strange, a body held still while the mind runs wild. Many of the most creative, dream-inspired ideas, from music to scientific breakthroughs, have likely emerged during this state. REM is proof that even while asleep, the brain does not simply shut down, it invents entire worlds. Deep sleep helps repair your muscles. When you fall into the slow, heavy rhythms of deep sleep, also known as slow-wave sleep, your body shifts into repair mode. Growth hormone is released in higher quantities, stimulating tissue repair and muscle growth. This is why athletes often prioritize long, deep rest. It is the time when their bodies actually recover from training. Even if you are not an athlete, your muscles are constantly repairing the tiny stresses of daily life, and deep sleep is when that restoration happens. Miss out on it, and your body feels weaker, more fatigued, and less resilient. Deep sleep is like a hidden workshop where broken parts are quietly fixed, invisible scaffolding is rebuilt, and strength is renewed. Without it, physical recovery stalls, and the body never fully resets. It is one of the clearest reminders that sleep is not passive. It is active healing. Sleep also helps regulate your appetite. It might seem strange, but the amount you sleep has a direct effect on how hungry you feel. Sleep regulates the hormones ghrelin and leptin, which signal hunger and fullness. When you don't get enough rest, ghrelin levels rise, telling your body it's time to eat, while leptin levels fall, failing to signal satisfaction. The result is stronger cravings, often for calorie-dense foods. This makes evolutionary sense. When the body feels depleted, it seeks more energy. But in modern times, Chronic sleep deprivation often leads to overeating and weight gain. It's not just willpower, it's biology. When you sleep, you reset the delicate balance of appetite, giving your body a chance to regulate itself. A good night's sleep in this sense is not only refreshing, it is also one of the simplest ways to maintain healthy rhythms of hunger and fullness. When you're sleep deprived, you specifically crave junk food. The connection between sleep and appetite goes even deeper. Studies show that when people are deprived of sleep, they don't just eat more, they specifically crave high-sugar, high-fat foods. Brain scans reveal that tired brains show heightened activity in reward centers when exposed to images of cookies, chips, or pizza. At the same time, the frontal regions responsible for decision-making grow sluggish, reducing self-control. This combination, stronger cravings and weaker restraint, makes it harder to resist junk food. The effect is powerful enough that some researchers argue sleep deprivation may be a hidden driver of the obesity epidemic. When you are tired, your body is not simply asking for rest, it is tricking you into chasing quick, empty calories. Sleep, in that sense, is not just medicine for the mind, but a shield against cravings the body cannot regulate without rest. Sleep boosts your immune system. Every night of sleep strengthens your defenses against illness. During deep rest, the immune system releases cytokines, proteins that fight infection and inflammation. Sleep also improves the efficiency of T cells, the white blood cells that seek and destroy invaders. People who consistently get adequate sleep are less likely to catch colds, the flu, and other infections. Vaccines are even more effective in well-rested individuals because the body's immune memory forms more strongly when sleep is plentiful. The link is so strong that a few nights of poor sleep can make you significantly more vulnerable to viruses. Sleep is not just recovery for the mind, it is reinforcement for the body. It is a shield rebuilt nightly against the unseen threats of the world. Without it, defenses falter, and the smallest germs can bring you down. With it, your body stands guard, restored and ready. People who sleep less are more likely to get sick. It's no coincidence that you're more likely to fall ill after late nights or stressful weeks. Sleep loss weakens immune function, leaving the body more open to infection. In one famous study, volunteers were exposed to a common cold virus. Those who had slept fewer than 7 hours were almost 3 times more likely to develop symptoms than those who slept 8 or more. The pattern holds across illnesses from seasonal colds to longer-term risks. Chronic sleep deprivation is linked not only to infections but to slower healing from injuries, greater susceptibility to chronic inflammation, and even a higher risk of cancer. Sleep is not a luxury. It is a frontline defense. Every missed hour carves small cracks in your shield, and over time those cracks widen, making it harder to stay well. Sometimes the simplest medicine is not in a bottle, but in the quiet of the night. Your brain uses less energy in deep sleep than when awake. During deep, slow-wave sleep, the brain's overall energy consumption drops dramatically. Even though certain repair and memory functions surge, this lowered demand may be one reason deep sleep feels so restorative. The brain finally gets a break from its ceaseless processing. The quiet rhythms of slow brainwaves sweep across neural networks like tides pulling back from a busy shore. This rest is not a total shutdown, but a deliberate slowing, conserving energy while still tending to essential maintenance. Remarkably, the brain uses nearly as much energy in REM sleep as when awake. But in deep sleep, it falls into a kind of low-power mode. That balance between high activity and deep rest cycles through the night, like the brain rocking itself between work and recovery. Each deep sleep phase is a pocket of silence when the mind finally sets its tools down. Sleep helps your brain rewire itself. One of sleep's most important gifts is neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to change and adapt. As you learn new things during the day, connections between neurons are strengthened, but they are also messy, overloaded, and inefficient. At night, especially during sleep, the brain prunes unnecessary connections and strengthens others, reshaping its wiring for clarity and efficiency. This process is like tending a garden, trimming excess branches, nourishing the strongest, and creating pathways that flourish. Without sleep, learning remains tangled, like seeds scattered but never rooted. With sleep, experiences sink deeper, forming lasting knowledge. This rewiring also makes the brain more flexible, better able to adapt to future challenges. Sleep is not just about recovering from the past day, it is about preparing for the next. It sculpts the brain, turning fleeting experiences into the architecture of thought. Babies spend half their sleep in REM. Infants spend an astonishing amount of time in REM sleep, sometimes up to half of their total rest. This is far more than adults who average only about 20% REM. Scientists believe this abundance of REM plays a vital role in brain development. Babies are constantly absorbing new sensations, sights, and sounds, and their brains must rapidly build the networks to handle them. REM may help integrate this flood of information, weaving it into early memory and learning. The twitching and movements often seen in sleeping babies may be the outward signs of this intense brain activity. As children grow, the proportion of REM decreases, settling into adult patterns. But in those early years, dreaming may be one of the hidden engines of development, building the mind before it even learns to speak. Newborns can sleep up to 17 hours a day. The first weeks of life are dominated by sleep. Newborns can rest for 16 or 17 hours out of every 24, though rarely in long stretches. Their sleep is fragmented into short cycles, often only 2 or 3 hours at a time, aligned with the need for frequent feeding. Though exhausting for parents, this pattern serves a purpose. Newborn brains are in a critical stage of growth, and sleep provides the necessary environment for development. The alternation of REM and non-REM sleep helps consolidate learning even from these earliest experiences, such as recognizing a parent's voice. Over time, sleep becomes more consolidated. But those early weeks remind us that human life begins in dreams. A newborn spends more time asleep than awake, as though the mind must first practice existence in the quiet rehearsal space of sleep before it can fully face the waking world. Teens naturally fall asleep later than adults. If you've ever wondered why teenagers struggle to go to bed early, the answer lies in biology. During adolescence, the body's circadian rhythm, the internal clock that regulates sleep, naturally shifts later. Melatonin, the hormone that signals sleepiness, is released later in the evening than in children or adults. This makes teens naturally inclined to stay up late and sleep in. Unfortunately, modern school schedules often force them to wake long before their bodies are ready, creating widespread sleep deprivation among adolescents. This mismatch can affect mood, academic performance, and even health. When schools shift start times later, studies show improvements in attendance, grades, and well-being. For teens, the desire to stay up late is not just rebellion, it is biology. Their clocks are set differently, a natural rhythm that often clashes with the demands of the world. Sleep cycles last about 90 minutes. Human sleep follows a repeating rhythm of about 90 minutes. Each cycle moves from light sleep into deep, slow wave sleep, then rises into REM before beginning again. Over the course of a night, we typically experience 4 to 6 of these cycles. The proportion of each stage shifts. Early in the night, deep sleep dominates, while later cycles contain more REM. This 90-minute rhythm is remarkably consistent, though its exact length varies slightly between individuals. Some researchers suggest that aligning waking times with the end of a cycle can help you feel more refreshed, since awakening in the middle of deep sleep often leaves you groggy. Whatever the strategy, The 90-minute cycle is a fundamental beat of human biology, like a hidden metronome guiding the night. Each cycle is a journey, a descent into stillness and a return into dream. You go through about 5 sleep cycles each night. On an average night, most people complete about 5 full sleep cycles. That means 5 descents into the depths of slow-wave sleep and 5 ascents into the vivid theatres of REM. Each cycle is unique, with dreams becoming longer and stranger toward morning and deep sleep receding as dawn approaches. This pattern explains why the final hours of sleep are often the most dream-filled and why cutting the night short deprives you of much of your REM sleep. These 5 cycles provide balance, deep restoration early, emotional and cognitive integration later. Together they form the architecture of rest, the hidden scaffolding that makes waking life possible. To think that every night your mind silently journeys through 5 carefully timed loops, work, repair, dreaming, renewal, is to realize that sleep is not simple rest, but a complex voyage repeated endlessly through your life. People who nap often live longer. Across cultures, napping has been seen as both a luxury and a necessity. Modern science now hints that those short periods of rest may also be tied to longevity. Studies in Mediterranean countries where siestas remain common suggest that people who nap regularly are less likely to die from heart disease. The reason may be simple: naps lower stress, reduce blood pressure, and give the cardiovascular system precious recovery time. Napping also restores alertness and balances mood, easing the daily wear and tear on the body. While not all research agrees, the pattern is intriguing. A nap is not just an indulgence, it may be a tiny investment in health and survival. Imagine the gift of living longer, not by taking more action, but by surrendering more often to stillness. In the quiet of a nap, the body seems to remember something essential, that rest is a form of strength. A 20-minute nap can improve learning. Short naps lasting around 20 minutes are sometimes called power naps, and for good reason. In that brief window, the brain dips into light sleep, refreshing focus and sharpening memory without entering the deeper stages that leave you groggy upon waking. Research shows that these naps can significantly boost learning, problem-solving, and alertness. Students who nap after studying often perform better on memory tests. Even pilots and surgeons in high-pressure environments rely on carefully timed short naps to keep their performance sharp. The effect is so consistent that some workplaces have experimented with nap pods, offering employees the chance to reset in the middle of the day. 20 minutes may not sound like much, but it is enough for the brain to catch its breath, as though pausing in the middle of a long climb. Sleep doesn't always need to be long to be powerful. However, longer naps can leave you feeling groggy. Though naps can be refreshing, there is a tipping point. Sleep lasting 30 to 60 minutes often dips into deeper stages where waking up can feel like dragging yourself through mud. This state, called sleep inertia, occurs because the brain is caught mid-cycle with neurons still firing at slow restorative rhythms. The result is grogginess, sluggish thinking, and heavy limbs, a sense of having slept too much. Over time, long naps may even interfere with nighttime sleep, shifting the circadian rhythm. Still, long naps aren't always bad. In cultures where siestas are common, people naturally balance daytime rest with later bedtimes. For most, however, the sweet spot is short, enough to recharge, but not so long that you sink too deep. The lesson is clear. The art of napping is not just about closing your eyes, but about knowing when to wake again. Monks sometimes train to sleep sitting upright. In some monastic traditions, sleep itself is considered part of spiritual practice. Buddhist monks, for instance, may train to rest while sitting upright in a meditation posture, leaning neither left nor right. This unusual method reduces deep immersion in sleep and keeps the mind closer to wakeful awareness. Some monks reportedly sleep only a few hours each night, distributed across brief intervals of rest while maintaining clarity of thought. To them, sleep is not escape but discipline, another aspect of mindfulness. By learning to rest without sprawling or surrendering completely, they embody the idea that sleep can be shaped, trained, even spiritualized. Imagine drifting off while upright, the body balanced, the mind floating between dream and meditation. For most of us, sleep is something that overtakes us. For monks, it can be another form of practice, a quiet reminder that even rest can be mindful. Napoleon famously slept very little. Napoleon Bonaparte, the French emperor and military strategist, was said to need astonishingly little sleep. Reports suggest he often slept only 4 hours a night, napping briefly when necessary. He considered sleep a waste of time. He once remarked, 6 hours for a man, 7 for a woman, 8 for a fool. His habits reflected his relentless drive, long campaigns, constant decision-making, and an impatience for rest. Yet, history hints at the toll this took. Toward the end of his reign, accounts describe him as increasingly erratic and prone to exhaustion. While his brilliance was undeniable, it's tempting to wonder how much greater his clarity might have been with more rest. Napoleon remains a famous example of short sleepers, people who seem able to function on little sleep. But for most, emulating him would be ruinous. His empire may have been built on ambition, but his body carried the cost of sleepless nights. Leonardo da Vinci reportedly used polyphasic sleep. Leonardo da Vinci, the Renaissance genius, is rumored to have experimented with polyphasic sleep, breaking his rest into many short naps scattered throughout the day. The idea was that instead of one long nightly sleep, he could maintain creative energy around the clock by napping for just minutes at a time. Whether the stories are exaggerated is uncertain, but the method, sometimes called the Uberman schedule, has fascinated modern experimenters. In theory, polyphasic sleep can reduce total hours spent resting while still providing enough REM and deep sleep in short bursts. In practice, it is grueling, difficult to maintain, and often unsustainable long-term. Still, the image of Leonardo sketching inventions between tiny naps is irresistible. It suggests that sleep, like art, can be bent and reshaped, though at great cost. For most, nightly rest is not just tradition, but necessity. For Leonardo, even sleep may have been another canvas. Thomas Edison called sleep a waste of time. Thomas Edison, inventor of the light bulb, viewed sleep with suspicion. He considered it an obstacle, something that robbed him of hours that could be used for invention. With electric light, he believed humanity could conquer the tyranny of night, extending productivity indefinitely. Ironically, modern research shows that Edison himself napped frequently, sometimes dozing off in his workshop chair. These naps may have fueled his creativity, offering bursts of inspiration between long hours of work, but his disdain for sleep helped shape a cultural legacy, one that equates long hours with achievement and rest with laziness. Today, we know better. Sleep enhances creativity, problem-solving, and innovation. Perhaps Edison's brilliance flourished not despite sleep, but partly because of it. He may have called it waste, but in reality, those stolen naps were likely among his most important tools, silently shaping the inventions that changed the world. Blind people can still experience visual dreams. Even those who have never seen the world with their eyes may experience sight in dreams. People who lose vision later in life often continue to dream in images long after blindness sets in. But even those born blind report dreams rich in sensory detail. Sound, touch, smell, and sometimes flashes of visual imagery shaped by the brain itself create their dream world. These dreamscapes may be filled with voices, textures, or spatial patterns that are just as vivid as sight. It shows that dreaming is not simply replaying sensory input, but a creative act of the brain. The mind generates its own reality with or without vision. For someone who has never seen the sun rise or colors change in autumn, dreams may still hold landscapes built from memory, imagination, and sensation. It reminds us that the dream world belongs to the brain, not the eyes. Some people have recurring dreams across decades. A surprising number of people report dreams that repeat throughout their lives. These recurring dreams may feature the same places, themes, or even exact storylines. Common examples include being chased, unprepared for an exam, or flying through familiar skies. Scientists suggest these dreams may reflect unresolved emotions, recurring stress, or deeply imprinted memories. What's extraordinary is how long they can persist, sometimes appearing in childhood, vanishing for years, and returning again in adulthood. For the dreamer, these recurring stories can feel like messages, puzzles, or echoes of something important left unfinished. Whether they hold hidden meaning or simply reflect the brain's patterns, they show how the dream world is not random. It has its own continuity, a secret narrative that threads through years, shaping the private mythologies of our inner lives. Nightmares are more common in children. Children often experience more nightmares than adults. Their brains are still developing and their emotions are raw and unfiltered, often spilling into dreams. Nightmares may reflect fears of separation, monsters, or real-life stresses. They can be vivid and terrifying, sometimes waking the child in tears. Over time, nightmares usually decrease, though they may surge again during adolescence when emotions run high. Some researchers suggest that nightmares serve a purpose. They may help children rehearse responses to threats, a kind of emotional training. Whatever their role, they remind us that dreams are not always gentle. For children especially, sleep can be a landscape of both wonder and fear, a space where imagination sometimes turns against them. And yet, even nightmares pass, giving way to the calmer rhythms of adult dreaming, leaving only faint memories of the monsters that once prowled the night. Sleep paralysis can cause waking dreams. In sleep paralysis, the body remains frozen in atonia, the paralysis that prevents us from acting out dreams, while the mind becomes aware. The result is a state where you are awake but unable to move, often accompanied by vivid hallucinations. People report feeling pressure on the chest, sensing presences in the room, or seeing shadowy figures. Cultures across the world have explained sleep paralysis as visitations by demons, ghosts, or spirits. In reality, it is the collision of dreaming and wakefulness. Though frightening, it is usually harmless, lasting seconds to minutes before the body fully wakes. For those who experience it, the boundary between dream and reality becomes terrifyingly thin. Sleep paralysis is a reminder that dreaming is not neatly separated from waking life. Sometimes the two bleed together, blurring the lines of consciousness. People once believed nightmares were caused by demons. For centuries, nightmares were thought to be literal attacks by supernatural beings. In medieval Europe, they were blamed on demons or witches sitting on the sleeper's chest, suffocating them and filling their dreams with terror. The word nightmare itself originally referred not to a dream, but to an evil spirit, the mare, that visited in the night. These beliefs likely stem from experiences of sleep paralysis, when dreamlike visions overlap with wakefulness. The feeling of being pinned down, unable to move, naturally gave rise to stories of demons. Across cultures, similar myths appear. Spirits pressing on sleepers, stealing breath, or whispering into dreams. Today, we explain nightmares through brain activity and emotional processing. but the old stories linger, echoing in our language. Even now, when someone wakes from a terrifying dream, it can still feel like something external pressed into the night. The word nightmare originally meant a night demon. The roots of the word go back to Old English, where mare described an evil spirit or goblin that oppressed people during sleep. The nightmare was imagined as a dark presence sitting on the chest, suffocating the dreamer and filling their sleep with horror. Over time, the meaning shifted. Instead of the demon itself, the word came to describe the terrifying dream it was thought to cause. The transformation reflects the way human understanding evolved from superstition to psychology, from external forces to internal mind. Yet even today, the word retains a sense of haunting. When we call something a nightmare, we mean it is more than just bad. It is oppressive, consuming, inescapable. In this way, language still carries echoes of ancient fear, a reminder that sleep has always been a place where imagination collides with darkness. Sleepwalking is more common in children. Sleepwalking, or somnambulism, is a phenomenon where people rise from bed and move about while still deeply asleep. It is most common in children, affecting as many as 1 in 5 at some point. During episodes, the sleeper may wander, talk, or even perform complex actions, all while unaware. The cause is thought to be linked to immaturity in the brain systems that regulate sleep and waking. As children grow, these episodes usually diminish. For parents, sleepwalking can be both fascinating and alarming. A child moving with open eyes but empty awareness is like a ghost in their own home. Though usually harmless, safety can be a concern if the child wanders too far. Sleepwalking illustrates how porous the boundaries of sleep can be, how the body sometimes slips into action while the mind remains locked in dreams. Some people eat in their sleep without knowing it. A rare condition known as sleep-related eating disorder causes people to prepare and eat food while still asleep, with little or no memory of it the next day. Episodes may involve cooking, raiding the refrigerator, or even eating unusual or unsafe foods, much like sleepwalking. This disorder arises from partial arousal during deep sleep, when motor systems activate without full awareness. For those affected, it can be distressing and dangerous, leading to injuries or weight gain. Yet, the behaviors are often automatic, driven by neural misfires rather than actual hunger. To the sleeper, it is as if another self takes over at night, silently raiding the kitchen. Cases like this remind us that sleep is not always peaceful. Sometimes it is fractured, strange, and unpredictable, blurring the line between waking habit and dreaming instinct. Sleep talking can happen in any stage of sleep. Somniloquy, or sleep talking, is one of the most common sleep behaviors. People may mumble incoherently, whisper, or even shout full sentences while asleep. It can occur in any stage of sleep, from light dozing to deep REM, though the content differs. In deep sleep, words are often garbled or nonsensical. In lighter stages, they may be clear, sometimes startlingly so. Most sleep talkers have no memory of the event, leaving bed partners amused or puzzled. Though usually harmless, sleep talking reveals how active the brain remains at night. Language networks can spark into motion even when consciousness is offline. In a way, sleep talking is like eavesdropping on the mind's unfinished thoughts, fragments of inner worlds slipping into the air. Some people sing in their sleep. Though rarer than talking, some sleepers have been known to sing, humming tunes, reciting lyrics, or breaking into full, if drowsy, performances. This is called somniloquy with singing. It emerges from the same phenomenon as sleep talking, when language and vocal centers activate mid-sleep. Reports range from soft, almost ghostly melodies to startlingly loud bursts of song. Some people have even been recorded singing complex pieces, though usually in broken or distorted ways. The content may come from memory, blending with dream imagery. For listeners, it can be eerie or enchanting, like hearing a concert from someone who isn't aware they're performing. Singing in sleep underscores how creative the mind can be when unbound from wakeful control. Even in unconsciousness, the brain sometimes cannot help but make music. Dogs twitch in their sleep because they are dreaming. If you've ever watched a dog asleep, paws jerking, whiskers twitching, or muffled barks escaping, you've glimpsed the dream life of animals. Studies confirm that dogs experience REM sleep, and the movements you see are signs of dreaming. Puppies twitch more than older dogs, likely because their brains are still wiring themselves, rehearsing motor skills. What do dogs dream about? While we can't ask them, experiments suggest their dreams often replay daily activities: chasing, playing, sniffing the world. Watching a dog twitch in sleep, you may be witnessing the rehearsal of tomorrow's adventures or the echo of today's. It is comforting to think that animals share not just the need for sleep, but the mystery of dreams. When a dog's paws paddle mid-sleep, they may be running through dream meadows only they can see. Rats dream about running through mazes. Rats are often used in sleep research, and what scientists have discovered is remarkable. They dream about their daily lives. When rats run through a maze, their brains form distinctive firing patterns as they navigate. Later, during sleep, researchers record nearly identical patterns replaying, as though the rat is running the maze again in its dreams. Sometimes the sequence is faster or in reverse, suggesting the brain is both rehearsing and reanalyzing the experience. These findings support the idea that sleep consolidates memory and learning. In a way, the rat's dream is its homework, replaying lessons until they stick. Humans likely do something similar, revisiting fragments of the day, practicing skills, or reshaping challenges in dream form. Watching a rat's dreaming brain is like catching a glimpse of our own, proof that even in the tiny skull of a rodent, dreams are a language of memory. Sleep loss affects mood before it affects thinking. When you miss sleep, the first thing to falter is not intelligence, but emotion. Even a single night of poor rest can make irritability, stress, or sadness swell. Brain imaging shows that the amygdala, a region linked to fear and anger, becomes hyperactive without sleep, while the prefrontal cortex, the rational, calming voice, grows weaker. This imbalance leaves us quick to snap, less patient, and more likely to overreact. Interestingly, cognitive abilities like problem-solving and reasoning often decline later, after mood has already unraveled. This suggests that sleep first protects our emotional balance before it safeguards logic. It explains why tiredness makes the world feel heavier, arguments sharper, and frustrations harder to ignore. Sleep is not just a balm for the body, it is the foundation for calm. Without it, even the brightest mind cannot keep storms of emotion from breaking through. You can't catch up on lost sleep completely. Many people believe that a weekend of sleeping in can erase the debt of sleepless nights, but science shows that lost sleep is never fully recovered. While extra rest can ease some of the fog, certain deficits like memory consolidation or immune repair cannot be made up once missed. The body can't simply store sleep for later. Instead, it operates on daily cycles that must be renewed each night. Chronic sleep debt builds up, subtly eroding attention, mood, and health, even when we think we're coping. It's like missing meals. Eating twice as much tomorrow does not undo starvation today. The only true cure for sleep loss is consistency, giving the body and mind steady, reliable rest. A single long night may feel indulgent, but it cannot replace the countless repairs that should have been happening each evening along the way. People who sleep less tend to weigh more. Across populations, short sleep is consistently linked to higher body weight. The reasons are complex, but they often come down to hormones and cravings. Sleep loss increases ghrelin, the hormone that signals hunger, while reducing leptin, which signals fullness. The result is stronger appetites and weaker satisfaction after eating. Sleep-deprived people also tend to crave high-calorie foods as the brain seeks quick energy to stay awake. Over time, this leads to overeating, weight gain, and difficulty maintaining balance. Metabolism itself may also slow without sleep, making calories harder to burn. Though lifestyle and diet play huge roles, sleep quietly shapes the background of it all. Weight is not just about food and exercise, it is also about rest. To maintain a healthy body, sleep is as essential as nutrition, an invisible influence that shifts the scale with every lost hour. Insomnia affects up to 1/3 of adults. Insomnia is one of the most common sleep disorders, touching millions worldwide. At some point in life, as many as 1 in 3 adults experience periods of difficulty falling asleep, staying asleep, or waking too early. For some, it is temporary, tied to stress, grief, or disruption. For others, it becomes chronic, a nightly struggle that drains energy and mood. The cruel paradox of insomnia is that the harder you try to sleep, the more elusive it becomes. Anxiety feeds the cycle, making rest seem almost impossible. Treatments range from cognitive behavioral therapy to relaxation techniques, with medications used cautiously. But insomnia reminds us that sleep is not a switch to be flipped, but a rhythm to be coaxed. For those who suffer, the night can feel endless. For science, insomnia remains a frontier of study where biology, psychology, and environment collide in silence. Women report more insomnia than men. Across studies, women are consistently more likely to report insomnia than men. Hormonal cycles, pregnancy, and menopause all influence sleep patterns, making rest more fragile at different life stages. Women are also more prone to anxiety and depression, conditions tightly linked to disrupted sleep. Yet, social factors play a role too. Caregiving, stress, and societal expectations often cut into the time and quality of rest women receive. The result is a striking gender gap in sleep complaints. Interestingly, despite reporting more insomnia, women sometimes show fewer severe health effects from sleep loss compared to men, suggesting subtle biological differences in resilience. Still, the burden is real. Night after night, countless women lie awake, caught between biology and circumstance. The gender divide in sleep is one of science's quieter inequalities, a reminder that even something as universal as rest is shaped by the complexities of life. The record for the longest nap is unknown. No one tracks it. We know who stayed awake the longest, but strangely, no one has ever officially measured the opposite, the world's longest nap. Sleep itself is notoriously hard to define, and naps blur the lines even further. Is a 10-hour nap really just a short night's sleep? Does a medically induced coma count? Because of these ambiguities, no official body records nap durations the way they record sleepless marathons. Yet stories abound, people who fall asleep on trains for hours or drift through entire afternoons into evening. Perhaps naps resist measurement because they belong to another category altogether, spontaneous, unplanned, personal. A nap is not about record-breaking but surrender. It is too gentle, too fleeting to compete in statistics. In a way, that makes naps more magical. Unlike the endurance of wakefulness, their wonder lies in secrecy, moments of rest that belong only to the sleeper. Some people naturally sleep only 4 hours a night. A rare group of individuals called short sleepers thrive on only 4 to 6 hours of sleep each night without apparent negative effects. Unlike most of us, who would quickly crumble under such conditions, these people seem to be genetically wired for efficiency. Researchers have identified mutations in certain genes, such as DEC2 and ADRB1, that alter the brain's regulation of sleep need. Short sleepers wake refreshed, alert, and energetic, while others might feel wrecked on the same schedule. Their rarity makes them fascinating, living proof that sleep need is not identical across humanity. Yet even for them, rest remains essential, just compressed. They remind us that biology can bend the rules, but never break them entirely. For most of us, chasing this pattern leads only to exhaustion. For the lucky few, it is simply the way they are built. These short sleepers often live normal lives. What's most remarkable about true short sleepers is not their ability to function on little rest, but how ordinary they seem otherwise. They hold jobs, raise families, and pursue hobbies without apparent strain. Many describe having extra hours in their day, a hidden gift of time. Some channel it into creativity, learning, or productivity. Others simply enjoy more waking life. Despite their unusual pattern, they show no consistent signs of poorer health or shortened lifespan. In fact, some studies hint that they may even age more gracefully. Their research is still ongoing. Importantly, this is not the same as chronic sleep deprivation, which harms nearly everyone. Short sleepers don't fight against fatigue, they simply don't feel it. Their existence shows the incredible diversity of human biology and how even something as universal as sleep can bend into rare, extraordinary forms. Some people can't stop falling asleep. Narcolepsy. Narcolepsy is a disorder that disrupts the brain's ability to regulate sleep and wakefulness. People with narcolepsy may suddenly fall asleep during the day, even in the middle of conversations, meals, or work. These sleep attacks are unpredictable and often uncontrollable. Narcolepsy is also associated with cataplexy, sudden loss of muscle tone triggered by strong emotions like laughter or surprise. Behind it lies dysfunction in the brain's regulation of hypocretin, a chemical that stabilizes wakefulness. For those who live with narcolepsy, life can be both exhausting and uncertain as the boundaries between sleep and wake blur constantly. Treatments exist, but no cure has yet been found. Narcolepsy reminds us that sleep is not a passive choice, but an active state the brain must carefully orchestrate. When that system falters, sleep intrudes like a tide sweeping over the waking world without warning. Narcolepsy can make people dream instantly. One of the strangest features of narcolepsy is how quickly dreams arrive. In most people, REM sleep begins about 90 minutes after falling asleep, but those with narcolepsy can slip into REM within minutes, sometimes even directly from wakefulness. This means that dreams may overlap with waking life, producing hallucinations so vivid they feel real. Someone with narcolepsy might close their eyes and immediately find themselves in a dreamscape, still half aware of the real world. These experiences can be disorienting, even frightening. They blur the distinction between reality and imagination, waking and sleeping. Yet they also provide unique insight into how fragile those boundaries are. Narcolepsy shows that dreams are never far away. They hover at the edges of consciousness, ready to flood in. For most of us, the barrier is strong. For those with narcolepsy, it is paper-thin. REM sleep behavior disorder makes people act out dreams. Normally, sleep paralyzes the body, preventing us from physically enacting our dreams. But in REM sleep behavior disorder, this safeguard fails. Dreamers may shout, punch, kick, or leap from bed, acting out the scenes unfolding in their minds. Sometimes these movements are violent or dangerous, leading to injuries. The disorder is rare but fascinating because it shows just how vivid and immersive REM can be. Those who experience it often recall dreams of being chased or fighting, their bodies echoing the imaginary struggle. Strangely, REM sleep behavior disorder is also linked to neurological diseases like Parkinson's, sometimes appearing years before other symptoms. This connection makes it a valuable early warning sign for doctors. For the dreamer, however, it is a nightly collision of two worlds, a dream bleeding into reality with the body unable to remain still. Sleep apnea interrupts breathing hundreds of times per night. Sleep apnea is a condition where breathing repeatedly stops and starts during sleep, often without the sleeper realizing it. In obstructive sleep apnea, the airway collapses or becomes blocked, causing pauses that can last seconds to minutes. The brain briefly wakes the body to restart breathing, sometimes hundreds of times each night. These micro-awakenings shatter the continuity of rest, leaving people exhausted despite spending long hours in bed. Severe cases are linked to heart disease, stroke, and high blood pressure as the nightly stress strains the cardiovascular system. Treatments like CPAP machines keep airways open, restoring normal sleep. For those affected, diagnosis and treatment can be life-changing. Sleep apnea reveals how fragile rest can be. Something as simple as breath, taken for granted while awake, becomes precarious in sleep, a reminder that even the most basic rhythms require constant care. Snoring can reach over 80 decibels. Snoring is one of the most common sleep disturbances, both for the snorer and their companions. Caused by vibrations in the airway as tissues relax, it can be surprisingly loud, reaching over 80 dB in extreme cases. That's comparable to the noise of city traffic or a vacuum cleaner. While occasional snoring is often harmless, chronic snoring may signal underlying conditions like sleep apnea. For bed partners, it can be disruptive enough to require earplugs, separate rooms, or medical solutions. The humor of snoring often masks its seriousness, but it is both a social and health issue. In some cases, snoring is so thunderous it rattles walls and startles pets. To think that quiet rest can be transformed into something so noisy is another paradox of sleep. Even silence itself is not guaranteed in the landscapes of night. Elephants snore too. Snoring is not uniquely human. Elephants, with their massive airways, are also known to snore during sleep. Recordings in zoos and wildlife sanctuaries capture deep, rumbling snores echoing from these giants as they rest lying down. Elephants sleep only a few hours per day, but when they do, their snores can resonate like distant thunder. Observers describe it as both endearing and surreal, the largest land animals breathing so heavily they seem to shake the earth. Snoring in elephants may serve no purpose beyond being a byproduct of relaxed muscles, but it connects us across species. From humans to dogs, cats, and elephants, the noisy vibrations of rest remind us that sleep is universal. Even the most majestic creatures are not exempt from the quirks of relaxation. When elephants dream, the jungle itself may hear their slumber and echoes rolling across the night. Sleeping in total darkness helps regulate your body clock. The body's circadian rhythm is guided by light, and total darkness at night helps keep this clock aligned. Darkness triggers the release of melatonin, the hormone that signals sleepiness. Even small amounts of artificial light from street lamps, phone screens, or glowing alarm clocks can interfere, reducing melatonin and disrupting rest. Over time, light pollution has been linked to insomnia, mood disorders, and metabolic problems. This is why sleep experts recommend blackout curtains, dimming electronics, and keeping bedrooms as dark as possible. In darkness, the body remembers its natural rhythm, syncing with ancient cycles of night and day. Sleep in the modern world is constantly invaded by light, but in darkness lies restoration. To step into shadow is not just to close your eyes, but to align with the rhythm of the planet itself. Light exposure at night disrupts your sleep. Blue light from phones, tablets, and screens is particularly powerful at delaying sleep. It suppresses melatonin, tricks the brain into believing it is still daytime, and shifts the circadian rhythm later. This makes falling asleep harder, shortens total rest, and lowers sleep quality. Even dim light in the bedroom can fragment sleep, leading to more awakenings. Studies have shown that people exposed to artificial light at night report higher rates of insomnia and fatigue. In evolutionary terms, our bodies are designed for firelight, moonlight, and stars, not glowing rectangles inches from our faces. The clash between ancient biology and modern technology creates one of the great sleep challenges of our age. To rest well, we must remember that light is not neutral. It is a signal, a message to the brain. At night, the message should be silence, shadow, and the invitation to dream. People who live near the poles adapt to months of darkness and light. In the Arctic and Antarctic, seasons bring extremes. Months of unbroken sunlight followed by months of near total darkness. Yet, people living there adapt, finding ways to regulate sleep despite the absence of natural cycles. During the long summer, blackout curtains and artificial routines become essential to signal night. In the endless winter, lamps that mimic daylight help maintain alertness. Remarkably, residents still manage to anchor their circadian rhythms, though not without difficulty. Many report shifts in mood, energy, and sleep patterns tied to the sky above. These adaptations show just how flexible the human body is, bending to conditions far beyond what most of us encounter. For those at the poles, sleep is not simply biological, it is cultural, a practice shaped by tools, traditions, and community. It is proof that even when the sun itself disappears, humans still find ways to dream. Jet lag is your body clock adjusting to new light. When you travel rapidly across time zones, your circadian rhythm lags behind. Jet lag is the mismatch between your internal clock and the new environment. Symptoms include fatigue, insomnia, irritability, and even digestive issues. At its core, jet lag is the body struggling to recalibrate to new cycles of light and darkness. For every time zone crossed, it can take about a day to fully adjust. Exposure to morning sunlight helps reset the clock more quickly, as does avoiding bright light at the wrong times. For astronauts in orbit, jet lag is even stranger. The International Space Station experiences 16 sunrises and sunsets each day. Managing light exposure becomes essential for their survival. Jet lag reminds us how deeply light governs sleep and how fragile the balance is. Even as planes shrink the globe, our bodies remain tied to ancient rhythms of sun and shadow. Astronauts sleep strapped into bags so they don't float away. In space, sleep takes on surreal qualities. Without gravity, astronauts cannot simply lie down. There is no down. Instead, they sleep in small cocoon-like bags attached to the walls of their spacecraft. Strapped in, they float weightlessly, bodies completely supported, free from pressure points. This may sound restful, but astronauts report that sleeping in space can be difficult. Noise from machinery, constant light cycles, and the disorienting lack of gravity disrupt circadian rhythms. Dreams in space are often strange, shaped by the environment of weightlessness. Yet, rest is essential, as fatigue can compromise critical missions. To drift in a sleeping bag tethered to the wall of a station orbiting Earth is to experience sleep in its most alien form. Even among the stars, the body insists on its nightly ritual, a reminder that no matter how far we travel, sleep comes with us. Sleep in space is lighter and more easily disrupted. On Earth, gravity helps anchor the rhythms of sleep. Our bodies sink into beds, weight pulling us down, a signal of stillness. But in space, there is no down. Astronauts float in weightlessness, their bodies suspended, their inner clocks confused by the rapid succession of sunrises and sunsets each day aboard the International Space Station. Sleep becomes shallow, fragmented, fragile. Noise from life support systems hums constantly, and temperature swings are extreme. Even with sleeping bags strapped to walls, astronauts often report difficulty reaching deep sleep. Studies show they average less rest than on Earth, and their REM cycles are often shorter. The result is constant fatigue, a shadow they must manage carefully to avoid mistakes. Space strips sleep of its anchors, reminding us how dependent our rest is on gravity, darkness, and silence. Among the stars, even sleep becomes alien, reshaped by an environment our bodies never evolved to know. Dreams can be influenced by sounds in the room. Our sleeping brains are not sealed off from the world. External sounds can slip into dreams, reshaping their landscapes. A ringing phone may become a church bell in a dream, or the patter of rain may merge into a story of walking through storms. Researchers use this phenomenon in experiments called targeted memory reactivation, playing subtle sounds linked to tasks learned during the day. When the brain hears them in sleep, it often strengthens those memories, as though rehearsing them more deeply. Beyond science, many people have experienced this naturally, an alarm morphing into a dream scenario or a partner's voice entering dream dialogue. It shows that dreaming is porous, open to influence, blending inner imagination with outer reality. Sleep is not complete separation, it is a conversation. Even in dreams, the world finds ways to whisper in, altering the stories our minds tell at night. Some people can control their dreams through practice. Lucid dreaming, the ability to recognize and control dreams, is not just a rare accident. With training, some people learn to do it regularly. Techniques include reality checks, asking yourself during the day if you are awake, and keeping a dream journal to sharpen awareness of dream signs. Over time, these practices bleed into dreams, creating moments of realization. This is not real. From there, dreamers may fly, conjure places, or explore impossible worlds. Scientific studies confirm lucid dreaming is real, with dreamers signaling researchers by moving their eyes in prearranged patterns while asleep. Beyond novelty, some use lucid dreams for therapy, confronting nightmares, practicing skills, or exploring creativity. The practice suggests that sleep is not passive surrender, but a frontier of consciousness we can learn to navigate. Dreams may be strange, but they are not beyond our reach. Dream journaling makes dreams easier to recall. Most people forget their dreams within minutes of waking. But keeping a dream journal, writing down even fragments the moment you awaken, greatly improves recall. The act of recording signals to the brain that dreams matter, strengthening memory pathways. Over time, dreams become clearer, richer, and more detailed. Journals reveal recurring themes, characters, or places, turning the chaos of dream life into a map of the subconscious. Some lucid dreamers use journaling as a foundation, training awareness by studying patterns. Others simply enjoy rediscovering the vivid landscapes of their minds. The discipline transforms fleeting whispers into a personal mythology, a nightly storybook written by the brain itself. To journal dreams is to tell yourself, "I am listening." And in return, the mind offers more. A notebook on the bedside table becomes a doorway. Each page a record of voyages that vanish unless caught at dawn. People forget up to 90% of their dreams. Dreams can feel vivid and unforgettable while they unfold, yet within minutes of waking, most details vanish. Scientists estimate that up to 90% of dream content is lost, slipping away like mist. The reason lies in brain chemistry. During REM sleep, levels of neurotransmitters like norepinephrine, which support memory formation, are unusually low. Without them, experiences remain unanchored, ephemeral. When we wake, the fragile scaffolding collapses, leaving only fragments. Still, not all is lost. With practice, such as dream journaling or rehearsing memories immediately on waking, recall improves. What's fascinating is the question of why forgetting is so dominant. Perhaps dreams are meant to be transient, serving their function of emotional processing or memory sorting without cluttering waking life. Whatever the reason, the loss adds to their mystery. Dreams are performances seen only once, fading before the curtain is even down. Dreams can sometimes solve real-world problems. Throughout history, dreams have sparked insight. The chemist Auguste Kekulé dreamed of a snake biting its tail, an image that inspired his discovery of the ring structure of benzene. Musicians, writers, and inventors alike have awakened with solutions to problems that eluded them while awake. The phenomenon is not magic, but the brain's unique processing during sleep. Freed from the constraints of waking logic, the mind recombines fragments in new ways, making connections that conscious thought resists. This is why the phrase "sleep on it" is so enduring. Sleep is fertile ground for creativity and problem-solving. Even small puzzles may untangle overnight, answers appearing suddenly in the morning. Dreams remind us that the mind works tirelessly even at rest. In its wandering narratives, it sometimes hands us treasures, solutions wrapped in surreal stories, gifts we did not know we were waiting for. Paul McCartney dreamed a melody for yesterday. One of the most famous songs in history came from a dream. Paul McCartney of the Beatles awoke one morning with a melody fully formed in his head. He initially thought he must have unconsciously remembered it, so perfect did it sound. But after playing it for others and finding no match, he realized it was original. The song became "Yesterday," one of the most recorded and beloved tunes of all time. McCartney described the experience as almost eerie, a gift from the unconscious mind. This story captures how dreams can bypass barriers, offering creativity pure and unfiltered. It also echoes countless tales of art and invention born in sleep. Somewhere between waking and dreaming, the mind reveals ideas that feel both intimate and universal, as if carried from a hidden place. For McCartney, that hidden place gave the world a timeless song. Mary Shelley's dream inspired Frankenstein. In 1816, on a stormy night in Switzerland, a young Mary Shelley had a dream. She saw a pale scientist kneeling beside the creature he had assembled, life flickering into its form. The dream was so vivid and haunting that she transformed it into her novel F. Frankenstein, one of the most influential works in literature. Shelley later described the dream as a waking nightmare, a vision that came to her in the liminal space between sleep and consciousness. From that moment, an entire genre science fiction was born. Her dream shows how imagination at night can seed revolutions in culture. In the solitude of sleep, ideas beyond waking reach emerge, sometimes monstrous, sometimes brilliant. Shelley's story reminds us that dreams are not idle illusions. They can shape art, science, and the stories humanity tells about itself for centuries to come. Your brain is more creative after dreaming. Sleep does not merely preserve memories, it reconfigures them. During REM, connections between seemingly unrelated ideas strengthen, making the brain more flexible and inventive. Studies show that people who nap or dream perform better on creative problem-solving tasks than those who stay awake. After dreaming, we are better at finding novel links, analogies, and metaphors. It is as if sleep shuffles the deck of memory, dealing the cards into unexpected combinations. Artists, scientists, and musicians have long described sleep as fertile ground for inspiration, and neuroscience confirms it. Dreams may not always deliver fully formed works, but they prime the mind for originality. To dream is to loosen the rigid grip of logic, letting imagination play. In that twilight state, creativity blooms, and the mind wakes refreshed, not just restored, but renewed, ready to see the world in a different light. Sleep deprivation causes emotional instability. When deprived of sleep, emotions become harder to control. Studies show that people denied REM for several nights become irritable, anxious, and less resilient. Their brains show hyperactivity in the amygdala, which processes fear and anger, while the prefrontal cortex, which regulates those feelings, loses influence. It is as though the brain loses its emotional governor, leaving reactions raw and untempered. Sleep seems to be when the mind integrates and stabilizes emotions, weaving them into memory with softer edges. Without it, feelings remain jagged, overwhelming. This explains why insomnia often intensifies depression or anxiety, and why a night of good REM can feel like an emotional reset. The lesson is clear: REM is not just for dreaming, it is for balance. In its absence, emotions drift unmoored, storms uncontained. With it, the seas grow gentler, allowing us to face the day. People deprived of REM become more aggressive. Sleep studies reveal a disturbing pattern. When REM sleep is consistently blocked, subjects often grow more aggressive. Animals deprived of REM lash out, fight more frequently, and show exaggerated territorial behavior. Humans too become quicker to anger, less patient, and more prone to conflict. This effect may stem from the brain's inability to process and regulate emotions without REM. The nightly integration of feelings fails, leaving frustrations sharp and unsoftened. Over time, this imbalance creates a short fuse, a hair-trigger temper. In everyday life, it explains why lack of sleep makes people more argumentative, more likely to snap at loved ones or colleagues. The aggression is not just mood, it is neurological. Dreams, strange as they may seem, are not frivolous. They are medicine for the mind. Without them, the mind grows brittle, volatile, unable to bear the weight of daily stress. Sleep loss can make you hallucinate. After extended periods without sleep, the line between dream and reality begins to blur. People deprived of rest for days often report visual and auditory hallucinations, flashing lights, phantom voices, or strange figures. The brain, desperate for REM, begins to project dreamlike imagery into waking life. These hallucinations can be vivid, even terrifying, resembling psychosis. Memory falters, attention collapses, and reality feels unstable. Some experiments show that after just 72 hours without sleep, hallucinations are common. The phenomenon reveals how essential dreaming is. Without it, the mind forces dream fragments into the waking world. It is as if the brain insists on dreaming. Even when denied the chance, hallucinations from sleep loss are both a warning and proof. Sleep is not optional, it is an anchor holding consciousness steady. Without it, reality itself slips, unraveling into the strange visions of a waking dream. In ancient Rome, doctors prescribed sleep for nearly everything. For Roman physicians, sleep was considered one of the most universal medicines. Ancient texts recommend rest for fevers, injuries, melancholy, and even indigestion. Sleep was seen as nature's healer, a force that restored balance to the body's humors. Patients were advised to spend long hours in bed, sometimes in carefully arranged sleeping chambers designed for maximum quiet. The idea was simple: give the body time and it will heal itself. While modern medicine is far more precise, the wisdom endures. Sleep remains central to recovery, whether from illness, injury, or stress. The Romans lacked the tools of neuroscience, but they observed the obvious truth: patients who rested recovered more quickly. Across centuries, the advice still rings clear: sleep is not only a refuge but a remedy, an ancient prescription that requires no apothecary, only the willingness to close your eyes and surrender. Some ancient cultures believed dreams were messages from gods. From Mesopotamia to Egypt to Greece, dreams were often viewed as divine communication. Kings and generals consulted dream interpreters before making decisions, believing the gods sent warnings or guidance in nightly visions. Temples dedicated to healing, such as those of Asclepius in Greece, welcomed supplicants who slept inside, hoping for prophetic dreams to reveal cures. In many cultures, dreams were seen as more truthful than waking life, a window into the spiritual realm. Today, we view dreams through psychology and neuroscience, but their ancient significance remains woven into myth and religion. Even now, many people feel that certain dreams carry deeper meaning, echoes of intuition, or messages from beyond. Whether divine or neurological, dreams still hold a sacred aura, an ancient bridge between the known and the mysterious, where gods once whispered to mortals through the language of sleep. Sleep strengthens learning in ways waking practice cannot. Practicing a skill while awake is important, but consolidating that skill during sleep is what makes it stick. Musicians who rehearse melodies, athletes who train movements, and students who study facts all perform better after a night of sleep than after equivalent time awake. During sleep, especially REM and deep slow wave stages, the brain replays patterns, reinforces neural pathways, and integrates new knowledge with old. This overnight enhancement is something waking practice alone cannot achieve. It is why cramming without rest fails and why breakthroughs often follow sleep. The mind continues to practice in the background, strengthening connections until they become second nature. Learning, then, is not only about effort but about surrender, letting the brain take over in the stillness of night. Sleep is the hidden teacher, the quiet coach, the unseen partner in every act of mastery. Sleep helps babies learn language. In infants, sleep plays a critical role in the extraordinary task of learning to understand and produce language. During rest, babies' brains replay the sounds they hear while awake, reinforcing neural circuits that link speech to meaning. Studies show that infants who nap after hearing new words are better at recognizing them later. Sleep seems especially important for this process as it integrates sound patterns into memory. In a sense, babies practice language in their dreams even before they can speak. The sheer volume of information they absorb makes sleep essential. Without it, their developing brains would be overwhelmed. Parents often marvel at how quickly babies pick up words, but much of the work is happening invisibly. At night, sleep is not just rest for infants. It is construction, laying the foundation for the most human of abilities, language itself. Adolescents who sleep more perform better academically. Teenagers are often stereotyped as lazy for sleeping in, but science shows that their bodies genuinely need more rest. Studies consistently reveal that adolescents who get sufficient sleep perform better in school, with higher grades, improved attention, and stronger memory. Sleep supports not only learning, but emotional regulation, making it easier to cope with stress and social challenges. Yet early school start times often rob teens of this essential resource, creating widespread sleep deprivation. When schools shift schedules later, the benefits are immediate: better attendance, improved mood, and fewer car accidents among young drivers. Sleep is not an indulgence for adolescents, it is fuel. Their growing brains and bodies demand it, and when society allows it, they thrive. The lesson is simple: give teens the sleep they need and they will shine. Deny it and even the brightest minds struggle under fatigue. Sleep improves athletic performance. For athletes, sleep is as important as training and nutrition. During deep rest, muscles repair, energy stores replenish, and coordination strengthens. REM sleep consolidates motor learning, refining skills practiced during the day. Research shows that athletes who extend their sleep, deliberately adding extra hours, see measurable improvements in speed, accuracy, and endurance. Reaction times sharpen, injury risk decreases, and recovery accelerates. Professional teams now monitor and prioritize sleep as part of training regimens, recognizing its power to enhance performance. Even amateur athletes benefit. A well-rested runner, swimmer, or cyclist performs better than a fatigued one, no matter the training. Sleep is the silent coach working in the background. Victories may be decided not only on the field or track, but in the quiet of the bedroom, where the real rebuilding happens unseen each night. Olympians sometimes nap before competing. At the highest level of competition, every detail matters, including naps. Olympians often take carefully timed naps before events to sharpen alertness and boost performance. These naps are usually short, avoiding deep sleep to prevent grogginess. The benefits are immediate, faster reaction times, steadier focus, calmer nerves. In sports where fractions of the second decide medals, the difference between fatigue and freshness can be everything. Athletes may nap in the locker room, on buses, or even in quiet corners of arenas. Coaches and sports scientists treat naps as tools, part of a broader strategy of rest. The image of champions sleeping before stepping onto the world stage may seem strange, but it underscores a simple truth. Sleep is not weakness, but power. In the silence before glory, many athletes dream briefly, then wake, ready to carve their names into history. Elite chess players nap to refresh their strategy. Sleep is not just physical recovery, it is mental sharpening. Elite chess players who endure hours of intense concentration often nap to refresh their minds during tournaments. These short rests restore focus, reduce errors, and improve memory recall of complex opening sequences. In high-stakes games, a single mistake can be devastating, and fatigue is as much an opponent as the person across the board. Napping gives players a hidden edge, helping them sustain clarity over long matches. Studies show that sleep enhances problem-solving and creative thinking, essential in chess, where positions require both calculation and imagination. To nap is to give the brain a reset button, a chance to clear clutter and approach the board anew. In the quiet moments between battles of intellect, sleep becomes strategy, a secret weapon hidden behind closed eyes. Long-distance truckers nap to stay safe. For truck drivers, sleep is not just comfort, it is survival. Long hours on the road, endless highways, and heavy schedules push drivers into fatigue, a silent danger as deadly as alcohol. Studies show that drowsy driving slows reaction time, blurs judgment, and increases the risk of accidents dramatically. To counter this, professional drivers often rely on naps. Even short rests of 20 to 30 minutes can restore alertness and reduce errors. In fact, regulations in many countries require drivers to take scheduled rest periods, treating sleep as a form of safety equipment. A nap on the side of the road may not look glamorous, but it can mean the difference between life and death. Sleep becomes part of the vehicle itself, as essential as brakes or headlights. For those who guide massive machines across continents, a nap is not indulgence. It is the act of keeping the world safe. The siesta is an ancient human tradition. Across Mediterranean and Latin cultures, the siesta, a midday nap, has endured for centuries. Rooted in ancient agricultural life, it offered rest during the hottest hours when work in the sun was unbearable. Beyond climate, the siesta also aligns with natural human rhythms. Alertness dips in the early afternoon, making rest not just cultural but biological. In Spain, Italy, Mexico, and beyond, the siesta was once universal, a pause woven into daily life. Though modern work schedules have eroded the practice, research now suggests its wisdom. Short naps boost health, mood, and productivity. The siesta is not laziness, it is alignment with the body's ebb and flow. When we honor it, we rediscover balance, work, rest, work again. The tradition whispers that human life is not meant to be a straight line of effort, but a cycle that bends with the sun. Afternoon naps align with natural circadian rhythms. Every day, most people feel a subtle slump in energy during the early afternoon. This dip is not simply the effect of lunch. It is built into the circadian rhythm itself. The body's internal clock creates two windows of sleepiness, one at night and one in mid-afternoon. In cultures where napping is common, this lull is honored with rest. In those where it is ignored, people fight through with caffeine, yawns, or distraction. Science shows that napping during this natural dip improves memory, mood, and alertness. The body asks for rest twice a day, not once. A rhythm still visible in children who nap instinctively. The modern workday flattens this cycle, but the biological truth remains. Afternoon naps are not an indulgence, they are evolution's design. A quiet reminder that we are creatures of rhythm, not machines of constant output. Humans may be naturally biphasic sleepers. Today, we assume a single long night's sleep is normal, but history and anthropology suggest humans may be naturally biphasic, sleeping in two distinct segments. Many traditional societies still practice segmented sleep, with a main rest at night and a shorter nap in the day. Historical records from pre-industrial Europe describe first sleep and second sleep, separated by an hour of quiet wakefulness around midnight. People used this interval to pray, talk, or reflect before drifting back to bed. The industrial age compressed this pattern into one block to match rigid schedules. Yet the body's natural dips at night and in the afternoon hint that biphasic rest is our ancestral rhythm. Perhaps what we call insomnia is sometimes just biology remembering. The human clock may not be built for one unbroken stretch, but for a life of pauses and returns, rest braided into the day. Our ancestors probably slept in 2 long shifts before artificial light. Sleep often unfolded in 2 stages. Historical diaries, court records, and literature frequently mention a first sleep, taken after dusk, followed by a waking period around midnight, then a second sleep until dawn. In this interval, people prayed, visited neighbors, or even conceived children. It was not considered unusual, but a normal part of the night. Artificial lighting disrupted this rhythm, pushing bedtime later and compressing rest into a single block. The pattern, however, remains visible in experiments where people live without electricity. Many naturally revert to biphasic sleep. This suggests our ancestors lived with nights divided, each half of sleep serving different functions. Perhaps first sleep restored the body, while second sleep deepened dreams. The rediscovery of this rhythm challenges the notion that modern patterns are natural. Human sleep has always been flexible, shifting with the cycles of sun and firelight. Dreams often reflect what you did that day. Psychologists call it the day residue effect. Dreams often weave in fragments of waking life, especially from the previous 24 hours. A song you heard, a conversation, a place you walked. These details reappear, sometimes transformed, sometimes nearly unchanged. The brain appears to be integrating new memories into its vast network, deciding what to keep and what to discard. Dreams are not perfect mirrors, though. They remix, exaggerate, or distort, turning the mundane into the surreal. A simple task may become an adventure. A brief meeting may become a dramatic encounter. This blending suggests that dreams are laboratories of memory where the raw material of life is tested, shaped, and stored. To notice the echoes is to glimpse the mind's quiet work. Every night the day continues in pieces, in disguise, in dreamscapes that make the ordinary strange and the strange unforgettable. Sleep stabilizes your emotional experiences. Strong emotions can feel overwhelming, but sleep helps smooth them into stability. During REM, the brain replays emotional events while stress chemicals are at their lowest, allowing feelings to be processed without re-traumatization. The result is a softening, a quiet reframing that makes the next day more bearable. People who sleep after distressing experiences often report calmer moods, while those deprived of sleep remain raw, reactive, and unstable. It is as if sleep provides an emotional cushion, absorbing the sharp edges of memory. This process explains why therapy often emphasizes rest and why sleeplessness worsens depression and anxiety. Sleep does not erase emotions, but it transforms them into stories we can carry. In the landscape of dreams, the unbearable becomes survivable, and the chaotic becomes integrated. Night by night, the mind heals itself, whispering calm into the storm. People deprived of sleep become riskier decision makers. Sleep deprivation alters not only mood, but judgment. Studies show that tired people are more likely to take risks, gamble impulsively, or ignore consequences. Brain scans reveal why the prefrontal cortex, which weighs outcomes, weakens, while reward centers remain active. The result is a mind hungry for gain, but blind to danger. This explains why fatigue contributes to accidents, financial mistakes, and reckless behavior. It is not simply slowness, it is skewed calculation. Sleep loss turns rational choices into gambles. The world becomes a casino of poor judgment. This effect is so strong that military and corporate leaders warn against decision-making, while sleep-deprived, equating it with intoxication. Restored sleep brings balance back, allowing caution to return. The lesson is sober. Without sleep, wisdom itself falters. A tired mind is not just slower, it is riskier, unaware of the cliffs it approaches. Sleep-deprived people laugh more at jokes. Interestingly, sleep loss does not only sharpen irritability, it also makes people more likely to laugh, even at things not especially funny. Studies suggest that fatigue increases emotional reactivity in all directions, amplifying both frustration and amusement. Sleep-deprived brains show exaggerated responses to humor, as if the threshold for laughter is lowered. This may explain why late-night exhaustion often brings bouts of giggles, the so-called midnight sillies. Groups of tired friends laugh uncontrollably at nonsense, not because it is truly hilarious, but because their brains have lost calibration. The phenomenon reveals how sleep stabilizes emotion, keeping responses proportionate. Without it, feelings grow wild, unchecked. In some ways, the laughter is charming, a reminder of childhood play. In others, it is proof of instability. Sleep deprivation makes the world more volatile, both funnier and harsher, light and shadow unbalanced. Your heartbeat slows dramatically in deep sleep. During deep, slow-wave sleep, the body enters one of its most restful states. Heart rate slows significantly, sometimes by 20 to 30% compared to waking. Blood pressure drops, circulation steadies, and the cardiovascular system recovers from the strain of the day. This nightly pause is crucial. Studies show that people deprived of deep sleep have higher risks of hypertension and heart disease. The slowing heartbeat is more than relaxation. It is therapy, a built-in mechanism for repair. Athletes, patients, and workers alike depend on it, whether they realize it or not. When you sink into deep sleep, your heart rests too, beating softly in the dark, preparing for tomorrow. Each night becomes a rhythm of renewal, a cycle of strain and release. Sleep is the heart's hidden ally, the quiet companion that keeps its drum strong through decades of life. Body temperature drops when you fall asleep. As sleep approaches, the body cools. Core temperature drops by 1 to 2 degrees Fahrenheit, signaling to the brain that it is time to rest. This cooling is orchestrated by the circadian rhythm, which lowers metabolism and dilates blood vessels in the skin, releasing heat. The process is so important that people who struggle with insomnia often show disrupted temperature regulation. Simple tricks like a warm bath before bed help by drawing heat to the skin, allowing the body to cool afterward and slip more easily into sleep. The nightly cooling is not just comfort, it is biology's way of ensuring proper rest. In evolution, cooler nights likely reinforced the cycle, binding sleep to the fall of temperature in darkness. To fall asleep is, in part, to surrender heat, to let the body drift into the calm of lower warmth, like slipping into evening itself. You release growth hormone during sleep. At night, especially during deep, slow-wave sleep, the body releases growth hormone, a crucial substance for repair, regeneration, and development. In children, it drives the growth of bones and tissues. In adults, it maintains muscle, supports metabolism, and aids in healing. Growth hormone pulses primarily during the early part of the night, making those hours especially valuable. Athletes depend on it for recovery, and patients depend on it for repair after injury. Without sufficient sleep, growth hormone release diminishes, slowing recovery and weakening resilience. It is a reminder that sleep is not passive. It is active construction, a workshop for the body. Muscles knit, bones strengthen, tissues renew. In every stage of life, from infancy to old age, growth hormone whispers through the bloodstream at night, ensuring that waking life can continue. Sleep is the factory, and growth hormone is its tireless laborer. Your body repairs DNA while you sleep. Recent studies reveal that sleep is essential for cellular maintenance at the deepest level, DNA repair. During rest, especially in the brain, genes linked to repair and recovery switch on, correcting damage accumulated during the day. Ultraviolet light, toxins, and metabolic processes constantly threaten the integrity of DNA. But sleep provides the quiet window for restoration. Without it, errors accumulate, raising the risk of disease and aging. Researchers even found that mice deprived of sleep showed increased DNA damage in neurons. The process is invisible, silent, but monumental. Every night while you dream, trillions of cells work in concert to safeguard your blueprint of life. Sleep is not just rest. It is survival at the molecular scale. To close your eyes is to give your cells permission to heal, preserving the architecture of your body strand by strand through the long journey of years. Sleep can help protect against Alzheimer's. The connection between sleep and Alzheimer's disease grows stronger with every study. During deep sleep, the brain's glymphatic system clears waste proteins, including beta amyloid, which forms the plaques seen in Alzheimer's. Without sufficient sleep, these proteins build up, increasing risk. People with chronic sleep problems are more likely to develop cognitive decline, while those who maintain healthy rest seem more resilient. The nightly cleansing acts as prevention, scrubbing the brain of toxic clutter. Sleep becomes not just restoration, but protection, shielding memory and identity. It reframes bedtime from habit to necessity, an investment in future clarity. The tragedy of Alzheimer's is memory unraveling. But sleep may slow that unraveling night by night, dream by dream. In the silence of slumber, the brain fights for itself, preserving the fragile threads of who we are. People who sleep poorly show faster brain aging. Brain scans reveal that people with chronic sleep problems often show signs of accelerated aging. Cortical thinning, reduced connectivity, and impaired white matter appear earlier than in those with healthy sleep. Cognitive decline, memory problems, and slower processing follow. The brain seems to age faster without its nightly reset, as though years are added in silence. The reason may be the lack of repair and cleansing processes normally activated during sleep. Poor sleep leaves the brain in a constant state of stress, gradually eroding resilience. Yet the pattern is not destiny. Improving sleep quality through consistent schedules, darkness, or reduced noise can slow the decline. The message is stark: how you sleep today shapes how your brain ages tomorrow. In every night's rest lies a choice, not always conscious, but always consequential. Sleep is not wasted time. It is time saved for the future. Sleeping more than 9 hours regularly can be unhealthy. While sleep is essential, too much of it may also carry risks. Studies show that people who regularly sleep more than 9 or 10 hours per night have higher rates of certain health issues, including cardiovascular disease, depression, and metabolic problems. The reasons are debated. Long sleep may be a symptom of underlying illness rather than a cause, but it shows that balance matters. Sleep is restorative, but excess may signal imbalance in the body. The healthiest range for most adults is 7 to 9 hours, enough to sustain without tipping into excess. Oversleeping occasionally is harmless, a natural response to fatigue. But when it becomes chronic, it may be the body whispering of trouble. Sleep is like water, essential in the right amount, but a flood can drown. Health lies in rhythm, in the middle path of nightly balance. Some cultures see long sleep as laziness. In many societies, especially those shaped by industrial work schedules, long sleep has been stigmatized as idleness. Proverbs warn against oversleeping, equating it with wasted life. Cultural heroes often boast of short sleep, tying success to relentless waking effort. The image of someone still in bed late in the morning is often associated with sloth rather than health. Yet these views reflect cultural values more than biology. Long sleep is sometimes necessary for children, adolescents, the sick, or those recovering from strain. To call it laziness ignores its purpose. Still, the stigma persists, shaping how people perceive their own needs. The judgment of sleep reveals how society often resists rest, exalting productivity above balance. To honor long sleep is to challenge this view, to remember that rest is not weakness, but resilience. Laziness may be nothing more than biology misunderstood. Some cultures see long sleep as a luxury. Elsewhere, long sleep is celebrated as privilege. In aristocratic households of past centuries, sleeping late into the morning was a sign of wealth, the ability to rest while others worked. Today, in some modern societies, indulgent sleep is seen as a treat, a luxury of weekends or vacations. Hotels advertise sleep retreats and pillow menus, framing rest as pampering. In this view, sleep is not laziness but reward, a gift one gives oneself. Yet treating it as a luxury risks forgetting that it is a necessity. Sleep is not only for the fortunate, but for everyone, every night. Still, there is beauty in this cultural framing. To view long sleep as pleasure, as a kind of feast, restores dignity to rest. It reminds us that slowing down can be indulgence, and that luxury sometimes lies not in having more, but in sleeping deeply, freely, without guilt. Napping is increasing in popularity in modern workplaces. Once stigmatized as laziness, napping is finding new respect in workplaces. Companies install nap pods, quiet rooms, or wellness programs that encourage short rest during the day. Research supports the shift. Naps improve productivity, creativity, and safety. Pilots, surgeons, and emergency workers have long relied on naps to stay sharp. Now, office workers, programmers, and executives are adopting them too. In Japan, Inimuric, where dozing at work has been culturally accepted for decades, seen as dedication rather than sloth. In the West, attitudes are catching up, reframing naps as tools of performance. What was once secret or shameful is becoming normalized, even celebrated. The workplace nap is not rebellion, but adaptation, a recognition that human biology cannot be ignored. In the hum of offices behind glass walls, the modern siesta is returning. Proof that even in the digital age, sleep wins. Sleep remains one of science's greatest unsolved mysteries. For all our knowledge, sleep is still not fully explained. Why must consciousness fade each night? Why must every animal risk vulnerability for rest? We know sleep restores, heals, and processes, but no single theory captures its essence. It is as if sleep is too vast, too ancient to be pinned down. The mystery endures not from ignorance, but from depth. Sleep may serve many purposes, intertwined: memory, emotion, repair, creativity, survival. Perhaps it cannot be reduced to one. The unanswered questions make sleep all the more profound. Each night we surrender to something science cannot fully map. Sleep remains a frontier, a puzzle hidden in plain sight, experienced by all, yet understood by none completely. It is humbling to know that the simplest act, closing our eyes, still holds secrets. Sleep is not just a necessity, it is wonder itself. And so we come to the end of our journey through the quiet science of sleep. From the strange patterns of jellyfish drifting in the sea, to the dreams that inspired symphonies and stories, to the mysteries that still puzzle scientists, we've wandered through the landscapes of night together. What we've learned is simple yet profound. Sleep is not an absence, not wasted time. It is a world unto itself, a nightly voyage where the body repairs, the mind renews, and the heart finds its rhythm again. It is as universal as breathing, and yet still carries secrets we cannot quite name. Think of the countless beings sleeping now. The dogs twitching in dreams of fields, the dolphins resting one half of their brain at a time, the astronauts tethered in their floating cocoons. Sleep is the common thread that unites us all, from the smallest creature to the largest, from the ancient past to the distant future. Each night we return to it, willingly or not, because it is home. And as you listen now, you might feel yourself already slowing, your own heartbeat softening, your breathing deepening, your thoughts drifting gently like leaves on water. Perhaps you feel the edges of your mind softening too, the way the day dissolves when night takes hold. There is no need to hold on to facts or stories anymore. You can let them scatter like stars across a dark sky while your body slips into the rhythm it knows so well. Sleep will take what it needs. Some memories, some fragments of the day, perhaps a dream or two, and the rest can simply fall away. So, as we close, I want to thank you for joining the Sleepy Scholar in this exploration. If you enjoyed this quiet journey, you can like the video, subscribe, or leave a comment to share your thoughts. But there's no hurry, no obligation. The night is long and sleep is calling. For now, just allow yourself to rest. Feel the weight of your body supported beneath you. Feel the rhythm of your breath, steady and calm. And know that in this moment you are safe, you are held, and you are allowed to drift. When you wake, the world will be waiting. But for now, sleep is yours. Good night.